The more you know about the product, the more likely you are to come up with a big idea for selling it. Study the precedents. Look up the campaigns for similar products in recent years. Find out which worked and which didn't work, and then go on better.
Happy Wisdom Wednesday, everyone, and this week's book of the week is... Happy Wisdom Wednesday, everyone. So this week's book of the week is a classic, especially if you're a marketer or advertiser. If you don't know who David Ogilvy is, shame on you, but that's okay. We're going to get you caught up. So the book of the week is the Unpublished David Ogilvy. Now, this was first recommended to me by Frank Kern, one of the world's greatest and most well-respected direct response copywriters that's alive today. Frank Kern is really well known from the early years of internet marketing. He had a really wild Fabio hair back then. But now he's a little bit more cleaned up, but still a fantastic marketer. And he mentioned how valuable not only the lessons he learned from David Ogilvy, but more importantly, this specific book. Now, who is David Ogilvy? So David Ogilvy is the founder of Ogilvy & Mather, one of the world's largest advertisement agencies. And more specifically, he was the father of advertising. A lot of people say that if you watch the show Mad Men, a lot of that was modeled after David Ogilvy and his legacy. David Ogilvy got his start working for Gallup, the polling company, and that's where he really understood the value of research. And he took that into his life and into his profession. So I want to read you an interesting piece of copy that he wrote in the back of this book, and it's actually an old advertisement of his. Probably one of his first ones, I think, that really started things off. Will any agency hire this man? He's 38 and unemployed. He dropped out of college, and he has been a cook, a salesman, diplomatist, and a farmer. He knows nothing about marketing and has never written any copy. He professes to be interested in advertising as a career at the age of 38 and is ready to go to work for $5,000 a year. I doubt if any American agency will hire him. However, a London agency did hire him. 3 years later, he became the most famous copywriter in the world and in due course built the 10th biggest agency in the world. The moral: it sometimes pays an agency to be imaginative and unorthodox in hiring. David Ogilvy. Now, David Ogilvy, aside from being the father of advertising, he really started this whole purpose and concept of A/B testing. That's right. When marketers take, whether it's copy or imagery or campaigns, and they A/B test to see what works. That came from David Ogilvy. Now, the Unpublished David Ogilvy, as opposed to some of his other books, is a fantastic one because it's really, aside from a memoir, it's full of really interesting chapters, such as his notes, memos, and letters, and the lists that he would make. Some of the speeches and papers, and you would think, why would I ever want to read somebody's old memos? Because this man was so good at writing, so profound, so provocative and interesting, that even the memos that he wrote to other people in the building, for those of you who are really young, a memo is pretty much email, but on paper. That's the old way that we used to communicate. They were so profound and interesting that you learned a lot about it. Some of the interesting chapters I loved his list chapter because he puts together these fantastic lists, such as this one list that he created when it comes to hiring the next trumpeter swan at Ogilvy & Mather. And in this, he writes, "In my experience, there are 5 kinds of creative directors. 1, sound on strategy, dull on execution. 2, good managers who don't make waves and don't produce brilliant campaigns either. 3, duds. 4, the genius who's a lousy leader. And 5, trumpeter swans who combine personal genius with inspiring leadership. We have an opening for one of these rare birds in one of our offices overseas. Now, one interesting story that came out of this book that I love is the concept of big ideas. And Ogilvy says that without a big idea, your advertisement will pass through someone's mind like a ship passing through in the night. And what's interesting is that in an interview, he was talking about the idea of having big ideas. And he said, yeah, in my lifetime, I've had 11 big ideas, which is more than what most people usually would have. And this man, who was a creative genius, came up with only 11 big ideas. And he's written some of the most creative ads for the biggest brands of the world: Rolls-Royce, Pepperidge Farms, Dove. And the point is this: is that in order for you to start having a good idea, you got to start practicing having a lot of really bad ones. James Altucher is a great example of somebody who puts this into practice by doing 10 ideas a day. And literally, just like anything else, if you don't flex and train your idea muscle, you're going to lose it. So I actually took that challenge up for about, I think, 3 or 4 months, where I did 10 ideas a day, just to, even if they're stupid and bad ideas, the point is that you're practicing it every day. And now, after some time, it's almost become habit, because whenever I look at advertisements and whenever I think about campaigns, I'm constantly going through so many different ideas in my brain. In order for you to have a really good idea, you got to have a lot of really bad, shitty ideas first.
Study the research, how consumers think about your kind of product, what benefit you should promise them. But don't rely too much on research. A lot of people in our trade use research the way a drunkard uses a lamppost, for support, not for illumination.